A very warm welcome, everyone, all the panelists, and thank you for being here today. My name is Tivish. I'm the school counselor of SMK Harley Methodist, and I'll be your moderator for this forum discussion today. We are going to explore the topic about addressing bullying in schools and our communities. As a counselor myself, I feel that it is important for us to recognize and that bullying is not only about behavior, it is about emotions, relationships, and the environment we create for our students. Many students carry these experiences silently, which makes it even more important for us to listen, understand, and respond with empathy. So this discussion flow will be going as the we will be getting different perspectives, starting with the student themselves, and followed by the parent, the teacher, and finally the school leader, the principal. So without further ado, let's start our discussion today. To start off, it is only right for us to hear from the most directly affected, the student. Their experiences often go unheard, yet they give us the clearest insight into what is really happening on the ground. So I would like to invite Divya to share her perspective as a student, including her experiences and suggestions on how bullying can be addressed more effectively. Divya, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Tibesh. A warm welcome, a warm good morning. Bullying has become something very often that we see around us, and it has become something very common in these days. So, as a student, I feel like bullying is something almost every student has either experienced it personally in their life or at least witnessed it happening around them at certain point. And honestly, bullying today is not always very obvious. When people think of bullying, they usually imagine physical things like pushing or fighting. But in reality, a lot of bullying happens in more subtle ways. For example, like we have verbal bullying, we have cyberbullying. Like cyberbullying and verbal bullying is not something easy, it is not something light, and things like constant teasing, name calling, or making fun of someone's appearance, or even excluding someone from a group is also considered as bullying. These things might seem small to some people, but over time they can really hurt a person emotionally and mentally. I think one of the most common type we see now is cyberbullying. With social media being such a big part of our lives, bullying doesn't just stay in school anymore. It can happen anytime, anywhere, through messages, comments, or even posts. And the worst part is, it follows the student everywhere, even when they are at home. From a student's perspective, the impact of bullying is actually very serious. It it's not just about feeling sad for a while. It can affect our confidence, our mental health, and even the way we see ourselves after a certain incidents or situations. Some students may start to feel like they are not good enough. Some may become very quiet and they start to isolate themselves from others. Others may feel very anxious or stressed all the time, especially when they are in the school campus or school areas. I've also seen how bullying can affect academic performance. When a student is constantly worried about being judged or being targeted, it becomes really hard for them to focus in class or participate actively in activities. Another important issue is that many students don't really tend to speak up about being bullied or being bullied. And I think this is something we really need to understand. It is not that students don't want help, but sometimes they are just too scared or they don't know where to seek for the help. They might be afraid that if they report it to someone, the bullying will get even worse, or they might feel embarrassed or think that no one will take this issue as seriously as it feels for them. Sometimes students also worry about being labeled as weak or being judged by others. So instead of speaking up, they just choose to stay silent and deal with it in their own way. And honestly, that's what makes bullying even more dangerous when it goes unnoticed and continues for a very long time. So, from a student's point of view, bullying is not just a small issue, it's something that can really affect a person's life in many ways. And talking about my personal experience, I've been bullied when I was in school, in my primary school, where I was judged for being fat, chubby, and people even call me ugly. And I've become one of the cyberbullying victim. So, from a student's point of view, I think there are a few simple things that can help to reduce bullying or to avoid being bullied. First, students should support each other more. If we see someone is being bullied, and we shouldn't just ignore it and go just like that. We should take even a small action like helping or checking on them can make a very big difference in someone's life. Second, schools can create activities like anti-bullying clubs or awareness programs so students can talk more openly about these issues. It is also important to have a safe space where students feel comfortable sharing their problems without being judged or getting attacked. Lastly, I think that students should be involved in making rules. When we feel hurt, we are more likely to follow them. At the end of the day, everyone plays an important role in creating a safer school environment.
Thank you, Divya, for that very honest and meaningful sharing. So, as we've heard from Divya herself, students often experience bullying in a very quiet manner, and this brings us to the important role of parents. So, parents, they are the key source of emotional support for students, but they may not always be aware of what their children are going through. So, for that, I would like to invite Mr. Divanish to share the parents' perspective, including experiences and suggestions on how families can better support children facing bullying. Mr. Divanish, over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Tivesh, for the opportunity for letting me speak here. So, hi, good morning. I'm Divinesh. I'm here to share the parents' point of view. So, from the parents' point of view, is that bullying doesn't just stay in school. It actually follows our children around home. Just like how Divya mentioned, they would feel depressed, stressed, and also isolate themselves sometimes. So signs like this can also be like hard to look. Like it's kind of hard to it's very small and easy to miss. Like as a parent, it's even easy to like you might overlook it because you might be thinking, oh, this is normal. Like my child is feeling sad. Okay, once in a while, yeah, they may feel sad. That's just normal. So because of this, they might overlook it, you know. And this is how it starts. They small things become big eventually as the day goes on. I remember that from my personal experience that I've had, that I've seen, is that I remember there was a time where my child suddenly became very quiet. He used to be quite talkative. But then suddenly he started giving like short answers, like he didn't really want to share anything. Like he used to be quite lively child, quite cheerful. He used to go around, talk to people. But then as like that day, that certain day, he became very quiet already. Like very quiet to the point as if something was disturbing him. So at first but of course, first I thought maybe they were just tired or stressed, because of school. But after a few days, I noticed that he kept saying he didn't want to go to school. Like rarely he wants to go to school already. And that was the time where I realized that something is not right. So I took time to talk to him calmly, comfort him. And eventually he opened up. He told that he was being teased by some of his classmates. So because of this, he was feeling quite down, quite uncomfortable. So in order to for this thing not to happen again to other children, so there are some suggestions that maybe I can give to prevent bullying happen so that no other kids like how my kid suffered, no other kids could also have to go through this again. So the first thing is that I think school should create an anonymous reporting system, which is basically since some students are afraid to speak up directly. So having something like a form or like a message box allows them to report bullying safely. In this way, teachers can take actions early before things get a lot worse. Um, Second, I would say schools can build a peer support system. Like for example, having student mentors or like peer system where students talk to someone their own age or maybe someone 1 year young 1 year older. So in this case, because sometimes students they are still kids, they are still teenagers, they feel a lot more comfortable opening up to their own friends, like to other people in their certain age rather than adults. Third is that teachers should be trained to notice early signs of bullying because bullying doesn't always start in like obvious way, right? It can begin with a small teasing. Then later on, small teasing, and later on, it becomes like a big and major issue. If teacher can identify these signs early on, they can actually step in before the situation becomes a lot more serious. And at the same time, I would like to say that as a parent, we also need to do our part by talking to our children more and creating a safe space for them to share their feelings. In the end, I believe that the key is not just reacting to bullying, but also preventing it early, making sure that every student feels safe to speak up. So that is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Divinesh, for those very valuable insights. And now let us move to the school environment itself. So this is where teachers they interact with students on a daily basis, especially in a classroom context. So teachers are the ones who are often in a position to observe changes in behavior, especially in the classroom. And identifying, addressing the bullying is not always straightforward here. So I would like to invite Ms. Mavitra to share their feedback from a teacher's perspective, as well as strategies that can be implemented in the classroom itself to prevent and manage bullying. Ms. Mavitra, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Devesh. I'm really grateful to get this opportunity to speak here. So, my name is Mavitra, and I'm an English teacher, and I really work close with my students on a daily basis. I see them every day, except for the weekends. So, in my classroom, in the classroom, we don't judge. We don't just focus on teaching content only. We also observe students' behavior and their well-being as well. So I remember a situation that actually happened recently in my class where a student suddenly became very quiet and avoided group activities. So at first, I thought it might be just a personality or a temporary issue, but over time I realized something was not right. So I decided to speak to the student privately, and I asked the student, so hey, I've noticed you've been very quiet lately and not joining any group activities. Is everything okay? And the student hesitated at first, but after a moment they responded. So they said the student said, I don't really feel comfortable. So some classmates have been making fun of me. So at that point, I knew something was wrong, very wrong. So then I assured the student, I said, thank you for telling me. I'm really glad you shared this with me. And you're not alone. I said that to him. I said, you're not alone and I'm here to help you. So we will handle this together and I'll make sure you feel safe in class. After that, I followed up by speaking to the student involved, reporting the issue to the relevant staff, and ensuring support was provided. So this experience reminded me how important is it for a teacher to be observant, approachable, and supportive. We have to look out for them. However, identifying bullying is not always straightforward. Of course, we cannot identify when bullying is happening that in very easy way. So sometimes it happens outside of the classroom, such as during recess or online through cyberbullying, which is harder to monitor. So because of this, creating a safe and supportive classroom environment is very important. When students feel comfortable and trusted, they are more willingly to speak up about their problems. So, as teachers, we can take several steps to prevent bullying. We can regularly discuss values like kindness, respect, empathy with students so they understand how their actions can affect others. So, we should also establish clear classroom rules against bullying so students know that such behavior is not acceptable. And in addition, active supervision is important, especially in areas where bullying may occur. When it comes to this, it can be teachers, it can be guards, it can be staff that can look out for these places where bullying can occur. So, in also teacher training programs can help educators recognize early warning signs and respond effectively before situation escalate, basically being proactive. So thank you so much for listening to my perspective.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mavitra, for those very practical and thoughtful strategies. So now, while classroom efforts are really, really important, we all know, but addressing bullying effectively requires not only the classroom context, but a whole school approach, which is supported by the strong leadership that we have. So, school policies, systems, and culture all play a very important role in shaping how the bullying in schools are being handled. So I would like to now invite our principal, Ms. Dina, to share feedback and strategies from a leadership perspective on how schools can create a safer and more supportive environment for all students. Ms. Dina, the floor is yours.
All right. First of all, good morning, everyone. I would like to thank our moderator, Mr. Divinesh, for giving me this really good opportunity to speak in this meaningful forum. I'm also really honored to be here together with other panelists to discuss a really important issue that affects our well-being of students at this current time, which is bullying. And this topic deserves a really serious attention because bullying can harm students holistically. So a little bit of self-introduction. My name is Noren Edina. I am the current principal of this school, SMK Harley Methodist. And one of my main responsibility at this current moment is to ensure that our school remains a safe, respectful, and supportive place for every student. And as a principal at this current time, there are several strategies and solutions that I am able to implement and fully commit in order to prevent and also to address bullying. And these actions are not a part of my duty as a school administrator, but they also reflect regarding the school policies and values that is upheld in the Malaysian education system. And our education system in Malaysia at the current moment place a really strong emphasis on student welfare, on students' discipline, on their moral values, and also to ensure that we all create a positive school environment. And therefore, any action taken against bullying must involve both prevention and also proper intervention. So moving forward, you see that from an administrator perspective, right, bullying cases must be handled seriously, carefully, and without any delay. And in my experience at this current moment, I see that one of the biggest challenges is that students are often afraid to report what they are going through. Same goes of what we hear from our student perspective panelist, Miss Divya. She shared that students scared to share that they are being bullied. And with this, some fear relatation, some even feel embarrassed, I believe. And some believe that nothing will change. The student will feel that nothing will change if they speak up. And that is why, as a principal, I believe that school leadership must create trust. Students must know that if they report bullying, they will feel protected and will be taken seriously. This is also in line with what the current education minister, Ms. Fadila Siddiq, has said. She said that school bullying must be reported, not just concealed. And this statement actually is really important to me as a principal because it means that all the staff in school, principals, school administrators must not ignore and also must not hide these bullying cases. So we must act with transparency and also with full responsibility. So I believe that in a written report I have read on 12 February 2026, Education Minister Fadila Siddiq has shared that around 2,889 bullying cases was reported last year in 2025, especially in the government schools. So including 2,000, I would say 2,419 cases in secondary school and also 740 in primary school. And if you think about it, that's a really big numbers. And that is a really big number that is frightening us as teachers, as principal, as parent, and also student. Not to mention, we also see the points that were shared from our panelists earlier, right? We see that what is bullying from a student perspective as the victim. We see that how the teachers experience and also handle the situation clearly. And we see that from a parent, how bullying can just not impact the students, but it can impact the family situation. And in this case, it impacts us, all of us in the school community. So, as a principal, I believe that the future direction of anti-bullying work in school must be more structured, must be more holistic, and we must take accountable. So there are some strategies and also solutions that I would like to share if you can, and I will focus on some 4 major strategies, if you don't mind. So the first thing is I will strengthen a clear anti-bullying framework in the school. So this means that every bullying case in school must follow a really standard process. So when they receive the complaint, they have to protect the victim. And then they must investigate fairly regarding to the situation. And we must not forget to involve the parents and provide counseling and take appropriate disciplinary action. So in school, there must be no confusion about how to handle these cases because bullying cases is really, I would say, crucial. It's really important. So how quickly it was handled and how a follow-up is required is really important. So a school cannot rely on any informal ways, informal reaction. It must have a really good system. So the second thing is I believe that strengthening reporting and protection mechanism. Now, this is what the parent perspective has shared, Mr. Divinesh, is that students need safe and confidential channels to report bullying. So they must know that they can approach teachers, counselors, us, school leaders without any fear. And when necessary, reporting channels should protect the complainant's identity. This is really important. So when students come forward, they know that they can trust the adults. They could not feel that scaredness so that they will feel harm. And this also relates with the KPM's bullying complaint portal. So we have a bullying portal which is called Portal Aduan Bully. And the minister emphasized that it's really important that the person who do the reporting must be protected. And the third one is ensure the intervention is for both victims and also perpetrators. So the victim itself, the students, so must receive the emotional support, from all that trauma they receive from bullying, right? So they must need the counseling, they must need protection, and they must need a follow-up so they can recover from it. So that they can feel that, oh, when I'm being bullied, I'm not a weak person, but need to recover with full dignity and also confidence. And at the same time, I believe that students who bully others should not just simply be punished or ignored. I'm not saying they cannot be punished. I'm saying that the person who bully, they need behavioral intervention, guidance. We need to see, why do they bully? Is it because they follow their friends? Is it because something happens at home? So a really close monitoring should see that why this harmful behavior can happen and how can be corrected earlier. And the last strategy that I would like to share is that I will strengthen the staff leadership and training. So anti-bullying responsibility cannot actually just place on school teachers, school discipline teachers or just counselor. All staff in the school, admin staff, wardens, administrator, and also student leaders should be trained. We should know to how to identify the warning sign, to respond properly. How can we document the bullying cases, right? And we should follow the procedures consistently. So when adults in the school are well prepared, students feel safer. They know what to do. But when adults are inconsistent, so students will lose confidence in this system. So as a principal, right, I believe that leadership training and professional readiness is really important for bullying intervention. So to conclude in my part, I believe that bullying prevention requires more than just awareness. It's not just we put up posters of anti-bullying campaign or we put up workshop. It just requires really good leadership, structure, protection, and also shared responsibility. So as a principal, I believe that if we truly want change, we must move beyond than just simply talk about bullying and instead just focus how to build a really good system so that we can detect it and prevent it and ensure that all students can actually feel involved of it. So my commitment as a principal is not just to speak against bullying, but to ensure that the school has the right policy, system, and the accountability to address how can we address bullying. So finally, I would like to thank again our moderator for guiding this really good discussion. And again, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the panelists who came forward to share their views and perspective on bullying today. So that is all for my part. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dina, and respectfully to all our speakers for your honest and insightful contributions. So, from today's discussion, we can see one thing is very clear: bullying is just not just an individual issue, but it's a shared responsibility. It involves the voices of students, the guidance of parents, the actions of teachers, and the leadership of schools. So, all to create a safe space for students to be nurtured. As a community, I think we must move beyond awareness and take meaningful steps to create environments where students feel safe to speak, supported when they are struggled, and valued for who they are. And this is because no student should ever feel alone in their school experience, especially for our school, since our mission is to have students to be heard. This is a safe space for students to learn and grow. So, before we end the discussion today, I would like to highlight certain key terms or key aspects that we have discussed. So, from the student perspective, we clearly can see that bullying is just not physical, but it can be verbal, social, or cyberbullying, which is becoming very trendy and is very risky right now. So, these types of bullying, it has like different descriptions, and it is making the identification of a bully or of a victim being bullied is very difficult. And as what Divya has said, one of her suggestions to how to overcome this bullying is for peers to support themselves. So peer support is important here. Peers, when they see other peers, their friends, classmates, schoolmates even, getting bullied, they should step up and at least notify the teacher or any in charge around that the bullying is happening at that moment. And moving on to parent, as Mr. Divanesh has said, students' reaction, we can see that it's very, very instant, especially at home, because when the bullying is occurring at the school, they tend to pile up the emotions, and when they go back home, they will show the colors there. So parents, they can immediately see the early signs of how, like, if the students are going through something that is disturbing them, troubling them in their school. And one suggestion that it attracted me was that the anonymous complaints, I think it can be very, very effective for students, because some students, they are afraid to speak, knowing that people would think like, oh, this is me, I'm saying the identification is being shared with everyone. So if it's anonymous, students will feel safer to share, and it will make the students feel better as well. And moving on from the teacher perspective, as Ms. Mavitra has said, the students' behavior changes can be also seen in classroom in terms of like academic performance and their overall engagement and how they communicate with other peers or even the teacher itself. So one thing that I think it's better to implement is that the teacher training program, where teachers, they are trained to how to solve the problems that or to solve the bullying problems that students are going through. So this will really help, as like not only one or two teachers are being they have the knowledge of how to help students who are overcoming bullying, but all teachers, it will be more effective if all teachers are understanding what bullying is really what kind of bullying is really happening, and how they are able to help the students especially in terms of classroom context. And moving on finally to the principal context. So as Ms. Dina has shared, bullying, it does not really only affect the students themselves, it's affecting everyone, the school community. From the students, of course, the students, the priority. The second part will be the parents, as in terms of family context. Third will be teacher in terms of classroom context. And fourth, all the leaders of the school in terms of the school, overall school context. So this is really, really something that we have to highlight here, as it's important for us to all work together, creating a safer space for students or overcoming these bullying problems that we are facing. And one thing that I can really agree that is that we have to follow the system to solve these bullying cases, because it's more effective, it's more standardized, it's to follow the procedure and effectively solve bullying cases without having to go informally, which might create further problems or stuff. So before I think this is the end of our discussion today. So thank you once again to everyone for being part of this important conversation. Hope to have another meaningful discussion soon. Stay safe. Thank you, everyone.